coming out this afternoon. As many of you might know, we had to reschedule this program because the Michigan weather has been all but changing every day. So thank you for coming out today. And today is the last day, so we're excited to be able to share Jen's lecture and then the last day, celebrate the last day of this exhibition. Many people have asked, how did this come about? How did the museum come up with this? And really, it was an idea that was brought to us by a member, and for us, it was finding the right partners for this idea and this exhibition. And when I knew Jen was willing to be on board with us, and Susan Harrison-Wolfis was our writer, I felt like I just had the perfect team. We jokingly say that I was just their bookie. I would call people. But it was, it was a labor of love, and not only from us, but also a group of committee members that came and helped us to think about what does our community look like, and how do we make it inclusive of all the parts of Muskegon County. It's not just the city, it's Ravenna, and it's White Lawn Montague, and it's Holton, and it's Fruitport, and how do we help to expose the many hands that create our community, and what does that look like? And so we were really fortunate when this all came together. And then another note is that we're working right now to actually give it a little bit longer of a life. We're writing a grant to the Humanities Council to see if we can put it on the road next year. So that would be the fall, and hopefully that it would start at the New Bean Center in Whitehall and then travel to some of the Maddow libraries, Muskegon Area District libraries. So that would give it a little longer life and expose it to a few more communities that may not have made it down to the Muskegon Museum of Art. And in addition to that, I'd really like, within that grant, if I do get it, it's always a crapshoot, folks, is that I would like to produce a small book. So then that would also capture the stories and images that Jen and Susan have produced for us to share beyond the life of the exhibition. So that's what we're working towards, and really hoping that we can give it its legs a little longer and make it happen, and have a few more people be exposed to this great exhibition, because it really has been a wonderful way for us to celebrate a great community that we live in, and that we have the chance to all be a part of it. And I also, in that, is for us to be able to produce it here at the museum, it is thanking our sponsors, which is DTE Foundation, PNC, and Rehman. They all contributed to allow us to have the support to be able to do all the legwork to make all of this happen. So I want to thank them as well. And today it's my great honor and pleasure to introduce to you Jen Green. Jen has been a photographer probably from the moment she probably had a camera in her hand, which I'm assuming is probably like 5, right? When you leave today, you'll see on the wall there's a set of 2 pictures, 2 photographs, black and whites. And one set is actually her dad's. He had an exhibition here 40 years ago. And then Jen had hers here. And the ones that are next to her dad's are actually ones that are in our collection from a different exhibition, but it just so was serendipitous that they were exactly kind of 40 years apart. So it was fun for us to be able to share that. She obviously has it in her blood, and it's something that she's been passionate about, and I think she's really given so much of herself to photography, and it shows, and we're so thankful she's part of our community. So it's my great honor and pleasure to introduce Jen Green.
Thank you all for being here. So, if you were to learn anything about me outside of photography, you should know that I am obsessed with books. My husband's here can attest. The only thing better than a new book is an old, beaten-up, weathered heritage book, Now, another thing about me is I've never been one to leave money unspent. A trait I most definitely inherited from my father. So when I was at a recent flea market, I had $20 left unspent, that was a bit of a shock to me. So on my way out, I was like searching the tables, hoping I might find something meaningful to spend my last $20 on. And as luck would have it, on the end of the very last table sat a box filled with, you can probably guess, old, beaten up heritage books. I asked the man behind the table, "How much do you want for that box of books?" He gave it a glance, shook it a little bit, looked back at me and said, $20? I mean, God, it was paid. Sold, I said. The man was so thrilled to be rid of this box of books that he even loaded them up in my car for me. The man obviously did not appreciate or understand the value of old books. Now, another man that doesn't appreciate or understand the value of old books is my husband. Poor guy, he's going to get beaten up here a lot today. So when I got home, I took the box of books out and I pushed it into a dark corner of the garage, where things can kind of go unnoticed. So a few weeks later, when I was finally able to pull them out from their storage spot, I was finally able to assess the true beauty I had acquired, and man, had I hit book paper. These books were beautiful. Torn and beaten up covers, worn out spines, something I can relate to. The pages were bent and torn, yellowed and water stained. I mean, everything I love in an old book. Now, in regards to old books, the subject matter is the least of my interest, really. This is purely an aesthetic sort of obsession for me. But as I started to look through the titles, I realized I had kind of a neat collection. I had storybooks, encyclopedias, real estate practice from the 1930s. I mean, come on, who would want that? I had some old hymnals, and I had the not-to-be-forgotten literary classics entitled The Forsaken Bride, and a churchyard betrothal, otherwise known as Love and Hate. The precious pages of these books contained beautiful graphics, detailed drawings, old photographs, keepsakes, and handwritten notations. But this book, this one became my favorite. It was an old family Bible, and it wasn't the written content that appealed to me the most. This book contained physical magic. This book held a story of life told in the form of beautiful pressed flowers and leaves, cut bits of cloth, and lovingly collected locks of hair. Long, beautiful blonde hair with flowers carefully pressed into it. Short, binding clusters of salt and pepper hair. Curled hair. And in this, a baby fine hair. Mementos of love and of lives lived. And for a few moments, my mind merged with the tangible memories of these long-forgotten people, and time and space no longer existed. This is an example of my version of storytelling. So why are humans so drawn to stories? The earliest example of storytelling is found in South Africa, painted on a rock in the form of abstract art some 73,000 years ago. At their core, stories share our common traits. They help us make sense of what sometimes can appear as random events in life and help give meaning to them. They are what connect us as human beings. So let's go back to my opening story about the books. Now, some of you might have connected with me, I saw somebody raise their hands, and that they love books. They also love old books. Maybe that was your connection. Maybe you also have a little bit of a hiding spot in your garage. Or maybe, like me, like I initially had, you connected with the people this book contained treasures of. Now, did this story change somebody's life in a powerful way? No, likely not. However, a story in its most powerful form can create change in thinking and action. Okay, this is where I get excited. If I had a little nerd alert light above my head, it would be going off because I love science facts. So listen to this. A study led by neuroscientist Yuri Hassan found that when a person is listening and comprehending a story, their brain activity begins to couple or align with the brain of the teller. Their brains literally begin to sync. This scientific term is called speaker-listener neural coupling, and we're all coupling right now. Now, we've all heard the expression, a picture is worth 1,000 words. No, that's the writers. But storytelling in any form is a powerful tool, but when you add a story with an image, it creates an even stronger connection. Because now you no longer have to imagine the story, you are seeing it. In one still moment, an image can change the way a viewer thinks, feels, and acts. Images directly bring viewers to new places and introduce them to new people. A photographic image is a beautiful dance between light, space, and time. Now, I love cameras and I love lenses. I love learning about photography. I love knowing how f-stops, shutter speeds, ISO, light, shadow, texture, composition can all come together to create a beautiful image. And I would be lying if I said I never had a bad case of gas. Not that kind, and lucky for you, not that kind. GAS is an acronym that stands for Gear Acquisition Syndrome. And trust me, it is not something you want. And it is not going to make you a better photographer. I also am pretty certain that nobody has ever looked at an emotional photograph and said, you know what, I bet that image has a beautiful histogram. And if you know photography, you know that term. Or, gosh, I really like her ISO choice here. Or maybe even, that's a great image, but you know what really makes it? I know she shot it at 85 millimeter on 2 lines. None of that is ever going to matter. When I think about the times I've created the most powerful images, it's really been down to 3 components that are accessible to everyone. So that concludes my talk. You didn't think I'd reveal the 3 components, right? Because then everybody can do it. The first component and the most important by far, soul. So soul, and some of you maybe don't call it that, but you all know it. It's that place inside you that just feels everything. That place that has been shaped by the events in your life and the people that have been in it. The place that contains your own personal heartbreaks and joys, failures and successes, dreams and fears. Photograph things that cause you to feel emotion, and now you are connecting with yourself. Be curious about people, life, and all the things that are a part of it. The more curious you are, the more you learn about yourself and what makes you feel emotion. A truly authentic image is equal parts photographer's soul and equal parts subject soul. Any kind of subject, and they don't even have to know about it. It's about feeling the feeling that moves you reflected in the subject and capturing it. So let me give you a couple of my personal examples. I would be less likely to capture a soul-connecting moment while standing in the end zone of the NFL football game. That would be my response. But my soul-connecting moment, I'm going to capture that standing in the ruins of a dark stage, watching a beautiful ballet performance. The dancer, the ballerina, is dancing to a heart-aching, beautiful adagio, and she takes that moment where ballet we call the breath. That is my soul-connected moment. Another example, I would be less likely to capture a soul-connecting moment while standing on the beach watching a beautiful sunset, though I can appreciate that. My soul-connecting moment is on a beach during a storm, where the dark clouds are churning and the thunder is rumbling and the waves are crashing and it's just getting ready to downpour. That is my soul-connecting moment. So how do you uncover these moments? This is component number 2, observation. Carefully observe people, things, and moments, and the way you feel in connection to them. Now this comes easiest from a place of internal calmness and quiet, and that hasn't always been easy for me. I have a lot of mind chatter, and when I was younger, that chatter wasn't always very nice. So if you're like me, my advice is the sooner you can find tools to help you find that inner place of calm and peace, the easier you can identify, feel, and anticipate moments to action. When photographing people, that place of calmness is especially important so that you can listen, because sometimes their words will reveal the true moment that needs to be captured. Component number 3, kindness. Be kind to every living thing you are photographing. Actually, let's rephrase that. Do your best every day to wake up and be kind to every living thing, not only with your words and your actions, but with your thoughts, because thoughts have power too. So let's take a look at how I use these 3 components with a few of the people in the hands exhibition. Now, I have to mention that I had a very special, superpowered advantage with these sessions. I had just gotten a new lens. Now, come on, we just talked about that, right? My superpower advantage came in the form of Susan Harrison. Susan is an incredibly gifted listener and writer. She is kind, and she truly cares about people. So, while Susan had conversations, I was able to immerse myself in the moment so that I could listen and observe to capture the soul-connecting moments. Ed Hendrickson, violin maker. Ed was our very first session, and what a great way to start this project out. Ed is extremely kind and very humble. Susan and I Susan and he had already had a friendship, so as they were able to ease into just a normal, nice conversation, I was able to just observe and listen and see what I could get from them. So Ed mentioned that one of his favorite tasks in making violin is carving the scroll, which you see him doing now. Now earlier, I noticed on his workbench a little piece of light colored wood with a heart cut out of it. It's the part of the violin that supports the strings, and it's called a bridge. Ed explained that he began to cut a heart into his bridges as a sort of signature. That heart is my soul connection. What Ed didn't know is that a deceased loved one sends my family frequent signs of in the shape of hearts. I took a number of pictures that day, but I knew this image would be the one. This image tells a story of Ed, definitely. But I am reflected back as well. And perhaps it is a bridge to a message from the other side. Moselle and A.D. Ellis. Parents to 42 foster children and 6 of their own. Moselle and A.D. are truly some of the kindest, most self-sacrificing people I have ever had the honor to meet. Not only did their conversation with Susan tell about the incredible love that they have for their 48 children, but it was evident everywhere in their home in the form of pictures. Virtually every surface contained smiling faces and reflections of love and love. Another thing abundantly clear was their strong marital bond and the mutual love and respect that they had for each other. So when it came time for their picture, I knew that it had to contain these key elements. I asked Moselle to grab a box of loose pictures that she had, and we spread them out onto the table. I had them put their hands over the beautiful smiling faces of their children and interlace their fingers so that both their wedding bands were visible. To me, this represented the way their love for each other is intertwined with their love for their children. The soul connection here for me is in every aspect. I see myself reflected back in their love and bond like what I have for my husband and like what my parents had for each other and the numerous foster children our family took care of. John and Don Swanson Pickle Company. Believe it or not, this was my biggest soul connection by far. Not just in this exhibition, but maybe in general ever. Puzzle? This requires just a little bit of backstory. So, probably January 2022, so a full year ago, before I even knew about this project, had an inkling about it, had any meetings with the museum, I heard through a roundabout way about a psychic medium that was looking to do readings so that she could get a certification in mediumship. And I'm a curious person, I'm open to lots of things, so I said, okay. So I went to the reading, and I was astounded at how accurate this woman was with validating things that had happened in my life. The only thing that made no sense to me is she was seeing my deceased father there in the session. And he was presenting this huge barrel to her with such excitement. And at the time, she read it as a large water barrel. And he kept pushing it forward, she said. She kept seeing him, this big smile on his face, pushing it forward. He was obviously excited. She's like, is this anything that maybe is an object handed down in the family, or has some family story? And I didn't have a clue. So we moved on. She continued to read me in the session with alarming accuracy. And as we started to wrap up, she said, son, just gotta go back to your dad. He's not letting go of this barrel. He's just so excited, and this makes no sense, but now he's pulling pickles out of the barrel. I was clueless. I even left the session and I called my mom to see if she had any clue what this could be, and she had no idea. So fast forward to September of last year, when we're just finally starting to nail down our schedule, right? And I'm in a meeting with Kathy and Susan, and going over the upcoming appointments, and I can't remember her exact words, but Kathy said something to the effect of to me of, okay, this is the day I'm sending you to Swanson Pickle Company, and Jen, you'll love it. They have these big barrels in the back that they keep the pickles in. And I exclaimed out loud, oh my gosh. It would, I don't know how. I don't know the reasons, and it doesn't matter. It would only make sense that my dad, who was also a photographer, and would have been thrilled that I was following in his footsteps, who also had a close connection with the Muskegon Museum of Art, would be so excited that however way he could was telling me about this moment that I was having coming up in my life. So when I look at this image, not only do I see Don and John Swanson, a father and child, I see my father in myself. Photography is an amazing vehicle to travel through life. Seeing life through a lens puts it in perspective. It can help you to better see nature and the land around you in your own unique way. To see the beautiful differences of people, their emotions, gestures, and culture. To help document and process difficult social issues. To see all their varied interests that humans have. And their humor. This one back there, you see that candy cane? This one had to be recorded because of that. It can help you to appreciate the beauty of birth and death. It has helped me to process the scary, isolating early days that we had during COVID. And has carried me through personal, emotional struggles. Most recently, it has helped me through my amazing husband's journey with leukemia. My camera gives me the chance to witness what is happening as an observer first, before I have to process the emotion of it as well. This is my mom. We haven't always had the easiest go of it. And we had to lovingly grow into each other. She has admittedly told me that she didn't quite know how to connect with me as a child, and as a child, I instinctively knew this. It harbored, festered into a little bit of resentment with her, wishing that I had been loved like I felt like I should have as a child. But as we get older, she and I have much more in common. And I have learned that you need to let go of the sometimes skewed memories truth in order to appreciate the life that you live now. She has had tremendous loss, both a child and a husband. But she has an unwavering faith that carries her through. She spends much of her time now lovingly making quilts as best as she can with her arthritic burned hands, and with the help of her mother's old Singer sewing machine. My camera helps me to see her through a different, softer lens. She is my friend, which is so much better than not being her mother. I wanted her to be when I was young. My younger brother's name is Nathan. He was 7 years my junior, and I treated him more like my own child than a sibling. When we were young, we shared a room together, and most nights, he just climbed into bed with me. As I grew into an older adolescent, our friendship allowed me the chance to live just a little bit longer in a childlike world, playing with him for hours on end with Matchbox cars, Smurfs, and He-Man figures. As adults, we shared an expert level of dry, sarcastic humor. And he loved my children as if they were his own. He died almost 10 years ago, and it still feels like yesterday. And the day following his death, I had the horrible task of cleaning out his apartment. There, just inside the door, sat his still fully packed suitcase. That's gone. His life had been a constant struggle. And for the first time, he had just gotten this apartment and was learning to live alone as a competent adult. He had recognized the warning signs that this new experience was bringing some trouble into his life. And he admitted himself into a mental health facility to get back on track and adjust his medication. During his hospital stay, he made that very important step to reach out to and make an appointment with a local narcotics anonymous group. The day he came home from the hospital is the day he walked in and set his suitcase down. What he didn't know in that moment, so filled with hope, is a mere few hours later, he would make the horrible decision to walk back outside his apartment door just 50 feet and into the home of heroin dealers. He died on their living room floor. I brought his suitcase home and laid it gently on my living room floor. With my camera in hand, I knew I wanted to document this moment forever so I would never forget it. You see, I just wanted to embrace the clothes that he had last touched and breathe in his scent one last time. Did you feel that? That is the power of storytelling. Because in this room, for the last few moments, there is no difference in gender, in race, in politics, or religion. There is only humankind, a collective feeling of kindness compassion, and empathy. What power we have as human beings where we can see or hear another story and feel their emotions, to make such a strong connection, especially in this technology-driven age that seems to be encouraging such disconnection. This ability we have can impact and change the world around us through this simple act of storytelling. It doesn't matter the form we do this in: photography, written word, spoken word, painting, drawing, music, dance. The options are endless. What matters is that we purposefully create moments to share, connect with, and open up our hearts to empathy. Because empathy is the magic emotion that can trigger change. Thank you all for being here this afternoon and listening to me. My hope is that you're inspired to go out and share stories of your own and create moments so that others can see themselves in you. And that you go and listen and look for stories of others so that you may see yourself in another. I just want to thank all the participants that agreed to be part of this exhibition. It was truly an honor to meet every single one of them. And it was so healing for me, especially in an otherwise extremely difficult year. And I want to thank the Muskegon Museum of Art staff for creating such an amazing exhibition for the community. Thank you.